Okay, so anyways, I am Sam. I'm the electrical project manager, and I am here to do like a quick crash course on Git and how to use it for the Read the Docs website. So if you guys don't know, the Read the Docs website are our new like way of holding documentation. So this is what it looks like, and obviously, you guys are going to want to keep some stuff secret. For electrical, it doesn't really matter as much, so we're basically throwing everything on here, pretty much. But any documentation and onboarding stuff and new member stuff or whatever you can put on the docs. So I just want to make sure that everyone understands how to edit it. It's really simple, but you do need a few things to do it. So that's why I'm here. And so first off, the thing you're gonna need is Git. You can just look up Git for Windows on Google, and you'll find this. When you download this, I don't remember, but I think there's an option that says like download with Git Bash. Make sure you do download it with Git Bash because you do need Git Bash. So after you get Git, you're gonna want to make a GitHub account. If you're obviously this is if you're just gonna be editing documentation. Not everyone has to do this, I'm guessing. But once you make a Git account, the Solar Gators or GitHub account, Solar Gators has a organization. This is a private organization, so if you guys do make a GitHub account, just send me a Slack message saying you made a GitHub account and send me your username because I have to manually invite people into here. But once you're a part of it, you should see a repo on here called Docs, and that is actually the website itself. So I'll go to Docs, and on Docs, you'll have this entire page. You can actually look at the individual files, which I know we're looking into like if we're just gonna embed PDFs directly onto the website, or if we're gonna make a Markdown PDF converter. Don't worry about that, but if PDFs are on the website directly, you can actually access them through the folders. I don't have an example, but they'll be like within these folders. But anyways, once you're on the website, you're going to want to clone this. So on the docs repo, you'll see a code button drop down. When you click on it, there's going to be this link. And there are other ways of doing this. You can use an app called GitHub Desktop. That one, I'm not going to talk about it, but that should just be an app that you download. I know Steven's using it for motor controller stuff, but I personally use GitBash. Anyways, so you're going to use this link, and you're going to go on your own personal computer, and you can make just any location that you're going to put it on. So I have a folder in my comp bench folder called Git Examples. And in here, when you right-click after you've downloaded Git, you'll see something called Git Bash here. So when you click on this, Git Bash is actually going to open a console right here. And all you're going to have to do is do git clone space, and then you're going to want your URL. And I actually have this on somewhere else, so I wonder if this is going to give me an issue or not. It is not. Cool. So once you do git clone, you copy the URL that is right here. You're going to actually have the repo existing in this folder. And then when you open up Docs, you'll see that all of this is all of that. Okay. So once you're here, you can then do git bash here again, or if you know some bash commands, all you have to do is cd docs, and you'll be in it. And something important to keep track of is this little blue text right here. It says master. So you guys won't have to worry about this, but master is a protected branch. What are branches? Well, basically when you're developing like a change in this, you want to make a branch so that if you write anything that breaks the entire repo, it'll only exist on the branch. So master is the most stable branch, and it is completely protected, so you actually are not allowed to write anything on master, even if you try to. So you guys don't have to worry about that. So to make a change, you'll actually want to make a new branch. So you can do it on here by typing git checkout -b. Make sure you have the -b. Oh, and the git commands, I don't memorize these like off the top of my head. I know some of the common ones, so I'm pretty sure if you just look up git commands, you can find like this webpage, and it'll give you like a quick rundown of the most important ones. And like I said, to create a new branch, you need git checkout branch name. So branches, depending on how you're going to do it, you can just make a branch name for the individual system. So if I was, I don't know, editing suspensions documentation, all of suspension can just have their own branch, and then you can just edit on there. I don't think there's a BMS branch, but I'm going to be using BMS as an example today, and I'm going to be adding the startup board documentation. So I'm just going to call this branch startup board. Okay. So once I've done that, there'll be a new branch called startup board. And if you go onto GitHub itself and you click this drop down up here, you'll be able to actually see. Oh, just kidding. I haven't actually pushed this. So right now this branch only exists on my local system, so I can actually just git push origin startup board. And all this is going to do is this is actually just going to publish the branch. There aren't any changes, but this is just so you can see that it exists on GitHub now. Look, startup board branches right there. So now this exists. And there are other ways to do this. I believe on GitHub you can actually add a branch. Yeah, create a branch, and then you can just type in your name, startup board, whatever. And that'll make a branch. And then if you just make a branch that already exists, all you have to do is git checkout and then the branch name. So I'll go back to master just to show. And then yeah, and now you're in master. A thing to keep in mind, if you're going to be making multiple branches within a system, unless you explicitly want to, you want to branch from master. So what that means is if I actually make a branch on startup board, if I go to create a branch here and call it something, this branch is actually going to come off of startup board. So if you think of it like a tree, the master is, I guess, the whole base of the tree, and then each branch comes off of it. So startup board is a branch. If you make a branch while within a different branch, so right now I'm in startup board and I make a new branch, it's going to branch off of that branch. What does that mean? Well, if there are changes on master and there are changes on startup board, the branch is going to exist with the changes from startup board, not from master. So that's something to keep in mind if you're making multiple ones. And go ahead and stop me if you have any questions while I'm doing this. But okay, so we're in startup board now. So to actually make changes, I have this right here, which is just an overview that Grant wrote for the startup board, and I'm just going to be using this for an example. So we gotta just make sure that we're within the branch, and it works in a funny way, but basically, like, when you look in this folder, you are actually looking at that branch's information. So if for whatever reason I wanted to delete all of this stuff from that branch, I would see that if I'm on this branch, but if I went back to master, all these files would come back. So to actually make changes, it doesn't matter what text editor you use. If you guys, for some weird reason, have Notepad++, it's basically like an improved Notepad editor. You can use that. I don't know of any other things you can use, but I'm just going to be using VS Code. Really, you can use anything that lets you edit files. And I'm just going to open what I just made. And alright, so now to actually make some changes. So in this example, I have the BMS tab. So if we look over here, BMS tab exists, and there's only a subtask within the BMS tab that is custom BMS. I want to make a new subtab. So to do that, you have to actually edit this file called index.rst. So index.rst is basically this first page for the BMS tab. And for example, motor controller has their own one called index.rst. And if I were to look at motor controller has two separate tabs, and you can see that the two separate tabs exist right here. And if you want to actually add a tab to the central thing, so if like mechanical wanted to add a new members tab, you would have to edit from the index right here, so the base index, I guess, this one right here, in the base file. So, and then in here you can see like all the main tabs existing, like all the electrical team stuff, the mechanical teams, subteams, the air body ones, stuff like that. If you want to add one, all you'd have to do is new member and then its location where you add it. So to add one to BMS, you just have to go within our BMS folder. So electrical BMS, and I'll just make a new file. So all of these files are going to be in Markdown. And if you care about Markdown formatting, you can online also. I don't know any fancy Markdown formatting. All I know is these stuff, basically. So I'll just be following that. So on here, I'm just going to put a title of startup board, startup, and over. And in here, I'll just take the information I had saved. I'll just do a paragraph just to show the example of doing this. Alright, so once I save this file, again, I want to add this as a subtab. So I want to go right here and add in the name of what it's going to be, so startup board, and then its file location, so startup. So this actually exists within the same folder, so I don't have to do anything, but if I were to make a new folder, call this folder something, then all I would have to do is just type in some thing /start. And then it'll just find it, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to keep it on the same area here. Okay, so once you do that, you'll see that the change actually exists right here. And now to actually view, like if you did this properly and this is actually working, you have to go back into the base file directory, and you can actually type up here, and this will open up another command prompt. And in here, I think it was Raymond. Raymond just made a make command, so all you have to do is type in make live HTML. And when you do this, this is going to actually make the website on your personal computer. And you can go to localhost 8000, and you should see the website here. And then if you go into BMS, it looks like no change wasn't made. So I'm going to close the server down. Oh, nice. It's because I had a different one running. Let me make sure. Okay, for some weird reason this is up still. Alright, it's fine. I forgot to mention, before you actually can do the make command, you want to go in here and do pip install. And then... Oh, and I guess I have to mention that you need Python to do this too. So, sorry, there's just a bunch of random things you need. So, okay, to do this, you also are going to need Python. So you can just look up Python and go to its downloads. Make sure you get something that's 3.0 or higher. And then once you do that, there should be like a pip command. And then this pip command is basically going to install the requirements. So all you have to do is pip install requirements.txt. And then when this does this, yeah, it's giving me an error because I already have everything installed. But now, HTML, hopefully this exists now on my HTML or local host. Okay, alright, that's a weird bug, but there it is. So the tab is there. I can go into startup and all the text I wrote is here. Okay, so to do an overview, because it was messy, basically you want to go into your base directory, open up a command terminal, type in pip and then it's requirements, not readme, requirements.txt. This is once you have Python installed. Pip install requirements.txt. This is basically just a bunch of different packages for Python that you need to install to run the server. It's going to give me an error because I already have everything installed. Once you do that, you make your change. So electrical, I added startup.md, and I added the text for that. And then I added it to my tree, startup, and then the location of it. It's within the same folder as it, so all I have to do is just write startup. And then once I added those changes, make sure you save everything. All you have to do is then just type in make live HTML. So then once you run that, you just go to your localhost 8000, and then you should see the change. Okay, there you go. Now it's popping up. Really weird. But there it is. So startup exists. If you do these like double pound symbol, they'll make like sub links in there. So the startup board overview, I can click on that, it'll send me the overview, even though it's right there. But yeah, so that's how you make your edits. So now to officially add these to the website. So obviously I made these edits on my local machine, so if I were on the actual website itself, they don't exist yet. So to actually send that to the actual website, you have to go back to git bash. We're in our startup board again, and you can type in git status, and it'll actually show you everything that you've added. So it shows that I modified the index.rst in the BMS folder, and it shows that I added in a whole new file called startup.md. So to make sure that these are, so currently they're not being tracked, so they're essentially files that exist in the repo, but Git doesn't care about them. So if you want to track them, you have to add them. So to do that, you just type in git add. You can type in the location. I'm pressing tab, by the way. I forgot to mention this. Tab kind of just auto-completes for you, so you don't have to write the whole thing out. So I added that file, so if I do git status again, you'll see that, okay, now I'm tracking that I've created a new file called startup.md, but it's still not tracking the fact that I modified the other one, so I gotta also add that one in. So git electrical BMS index.rc. Okay, so if I do git status again, it tracks, okay, it's tracking everything that I've changed, so now everything is actually being tracked in the repo. So now all I have to do is commit this. So a commit is now that I have said I have officially, I'm okay with these changes, basically is what it's saying. So git repo is actually tracking the changes that I've made, and a commit will say these are valid changes. So if you type in git commit and then do -m to put a message, always put a message just so anyone who's looking at the repo, I guess specifically me since I have to monitor the repo, so I know exactly what you added. So in this message, I'm just going to write that added startup board overview. So I get git commit. If I do git status, it should say, okay, so it says nothing to commit. So now I've officially committed this. My changes are actually on the repo are official. And now to actually push this to the server, so the GitHub repo, I then just type git push, and then I have to type in origin, and then the branch name, startup. So now this is going to push the committed changes that I made onto the branch itself. So now that they're there, I can actually go back to the repo, just refresh the whole thing. Did not want to do that. Startup board. And EMS. And there it is. So my startup.md is there. It's there. Oh, another option you do have once you write all these existing files and push them to the repo is you can actually use this right here, edit this file, and you can actually edit the file on GitHub itself. So I can write something else basically and edit the file. And if you do this on GitHub, like the website itself, it'll actually let you commit it directly here whenever you change something. And it defaults to just saying updated file name, and then you can just commit the change. So that is another option you have. Instead of actually having to use a text editor, you can just create the files, push them onto the branch, and then just using the edit button on GitHub, you can actually edit them there. But okay, so now these files exist, but they only exist on the startup board branch that I made. So now, like I said earlier, the master branch is protected, so how you actually put these changes onto the master branch is by creating a pull request. So pull requests, you can just do this entirely on the website. So as long as the changes are shown on your branch, so I'm on startup board branch and I can see that I added in the startup.md file and I've added startup to the tree. I can now actually create a pull request. So you'll go into here and there should be a new pull request button, and sometimes this pops up since you recently just made the changes. So I'll just create a new pull request, and on here you want to make sure that your base branch is the master, so click master, and you want to make sure you're comparing it to the branch that you're going to, the features you're going to add in, basically. So what I'm doing here is essentially I am saying my startup board branch is ready to be merged onto the master. So all the changes I made on the startup board are ready to be merged with any new changes on the master. So I just select the base as the master, compare it to startup board. You can actually see the actual changes that you've made. So you can see I added in a new file called startup.md, and then there's a startup and an overview, and you can see that in index.rst, startup was added right here. So once you do that, you're going to do create a pull request. You can write something. I think it defaults to your commit message, so I'm just going to keep it as that. And over here on reviewers, you can just type in reviewers. When you're doing this, you can do either John. So John Carr will review it. Raymond will review it, or myself. Nope, that's not going to show me. So you can add those people. I'm going to add Raymond and John to review it. You basically just need to add some reviewers in. You can add me, John, or Raymond, doesn't matter. So once you do that, you can then just create the pull request. And all this will do is give them a notification that, hey, I want to merge this onto the master, and then they'll just look through it and say, hey, it's good enough to merge, or hey, you might want to fix this and that. And that's basically it. I think I got a message. Can we use it on iOS? What do you mean by use it on iOS? Like edit this on your phone? What do you mean by that?
Oh, I just asking it, can I download it on Windows, on iOS, since I have a Mac?
Oh, okay. So so Raymond actually does all the development on the Mac, and I'm pretty sure this app Git Bash exists on Mac, and if it doesn't exist, you can definitely use GitHub Desktop. Here, I'll show what GitHub Desktop is. But GitHub Desktop is basically like a way that you don't have to do the commands. I'm pretty sure Raymond uses GitHub Desktop, and like I said, Steven used GitHub Desktop. So on here, I'll talk about this real quick, I guess. So
Okay, thank you.
yeah, so GitHub Desktop, if you're using a Mac, use a GitHub Desktop definitely, because I just don't, I'm not exactly sure how everything else works with the Mac. But on here, you go on GitHub Desktop, there will be like a repo button at the top, and then you can hit add existing repo. So I'll add my repo, and now it just shows all the information for the repo. I think there's also like, yeah, so there's a clone repository which you can actually pick where you want to clone it, and then you can just give the URL, the same URL that I mentioned at the beginning. This one right here. So you would just use this URL, and you can then put whatever location you want it to be in. So but then once you do that, you can then just clone it, and it should just open it up straight away. So when you're GitHub Desktop, the only difference is there are no commands you have to do. So GitHub Desktop will actually show you every single branch that exists. So like right now I'm at the top, there's a current branch tab. It already shows that I'm on the startup board branch, but it'll show you like master branch, the other branches. I can pick any branch that I want to move on to. Then up here on the branch tab up here, there is a new branch, and you can just do the same thing we did on the other one, create a new branch, then there'll be a publish, so you can publish the branch, and now it'll exist on GitHub. Then same thing, you just create the files that you want to change. So in this case, I'd create the startup.md. I'd make the changes to, I don't know if you're doing that, to index.rst. And once you do that, they'll actually pop up here. So I guess to show you, it'll be like, just do and GitHub Desktop. So GitHub Desktop actually shows you the changes that you've made right here. So it shows that for some weird reason it deleted this whole thing and then re-added it. But basically, all I did was add something down here and added in a new line. And once you do that, it shows all your changes here. You can then do the same thing where you make a commit message. I guess I'll do this as a test and commit that. And now if I go into here, to startup board. So yeah, so now it says this branch is one commit ahead of the master. Figure out where I can look to see my commits. Maybe if I go in here. I guess it'll just show. Oh, wait, sorry. Of course, I haven't actually pushed the changes. So yeah, so I've made the commit. This is a test, committed it just now. GitHub Desktop actually has a nice undo button, so you can just get rid of that. And then there should be a push up here, and then all this does is it pushes the commit change to the repo. So now that I'm here, you can see that the change is made. And if this seems much easier, you can obviously use this. You're still going to want to download Git, because this is actually like basically like allowing Git to exist on your computer. And then GitHub Desktop is just a nice alternative to using it. So that was an example of my commit, pushing it, and then same thing, once you want this commit to officially be added to the master, you just want to make a merge request. If there's a merge request already existing, this should already just automatically update the merge request. So you'll see that if I look at the merge request and this is a test, that commit I just made. And it is now added onto the pull request. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I guess if you ever make any changes that you are like really drastic and can't keep track of it, if I delete this whole thing, I delete this whole thing, and I'm in git bash and I go git status, and oh, I made these changes. I don't exactly know what I did. There is a reset option, so all you have to do is reset dash dash hard capital head. And what this is just essentially going to do is it's just going to wipe out all your changes that you've made and just bring you back to the previous commit that it was. So, like that. And I think that's really all you need to know. Yeah, that should be it. Does anyone have any questions?
Would there be a way to link files? Like, for example, if I wanted to have all the software, like have members be able to like come here, check out a guide, and then have like a download path for the software on this. Is that possible?
So like a link on the website or something else?
Yeah, like if I wanted like pretty much like a link to the SolidWorks download file, that kind of thing.
Okay. So that is so you can do that, but I guess I should mention this. Don't put a link to the drive because this is a public website that anyone from anywhere, including other countries, can access this. So in the example, if you put a link to what was it, SolidWorks,
Yeah.
have access to that, and that's not a good idea. But if you you can do that, just don't do it. If anything, what you should have is you should have like just say like join the Slack and then mention something like you'll need SolidWorks if you need the link message the project manager, something like that, because you just don't want a direct link because the other problem is any link that you put to the Google Drive in here, unless you explicitly change it, by default will give anyone who joins the drive read and write access. So it's just not a good idea to merge the two. Just make it so that they can join the Slack and then just say on the read the docs like message someone for a Google Drive link or something.
Okay, I meant more like I guess like an actual like
so like a PDF file.
An actual file.
Okay, so you can add PDF files. So
I guess so. Our software comes in zip folders.
mm-hmm.
Like we have like a zip folder that like goes directly to that zip folder. Like not something that we posted on Google Drive. Like
yeah.
Like okay.
Yeah. So what you can do is same thing as before. Just like I guess I'll add in a zip file. Some zip. It's not the.
P, are you referring to just like a SLDPRT file? Like basically something that's not text?
Like instead of like if I could have like all of the like Siemens instructions for all the software, like have it just like have one page of a website like dedicated to that.
Yeah.
So what you can do is you can just add like your whatever file that you're talking about, and the way we're gonna do this is the file is gonna be hosted on GitHub. So what I mean by that is when I do git status, it actually sees the file that I added in, some.zip, and then I can just track that electrical EMS some.zip, and then I will push that this file. Push origin startup org. So essentially what you've done is you've like uploaded the file to GitHub.
Mm-hmm.
And if you rather than go here, startup org, electrical. So now the file exists within the repository. So what you can do is there's like a download link, and I believe.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So you can just like copy this link, and then when you're adding in like a link to the website, you can like have it direct to this link. So then that way, it's not on the Google Drive. The file does exist. and then they can just download it by clicking some link.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
And do we have like a space limit?
I believe there is a space limit, but it's pretty big. I don't think we'll have to worry about that.
Okay, sweet. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Okay. Any other questions?
So if we were going to put like videos on the website, like training videos,
Mhm.
is there a way just to upload like a video that they can click on here, or is it a better option to upload them to like a YouTube channel and link to a YouTube channel or something like that?
Yeah. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually. So for example, electrical has a bunch of tutorials that we did over the summer, and we recorded all of them. So what we're actually gonna do is we're just going to upload them all to YouTube, and then Raymond and John are still working on this, but there's just a way where you can directly embed the videos on the website, so that they can either click the link to go to YouTube itself, or they can just play it straight off the website. But if you're gonna want videos, I don't know who has YouTube channel access besides myself and John. But you can upload it onto the drive, like the video, and then you can just send me a link to the video, and I will upload it to the YouTube channel. And then I guess once they eventually get the embedded video player working, I can just embed the video on whatever like tab that you want it on.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Cool. Any other questions? No. Okay, awesome. All right,
Oh, yeah.
that's
Real quick.
Oh, yeah.
Is there a way to password protect some files, or is that just too complicated?
So anything on the repo itself is gonna be, I believe, like private to the organization. I don't know. I'll have to ask John that. I don't think it says it here. So what that means is if you put links to like download files, I don't think anyone will be able to actually see it. They'll just get an error when they click on it, unless they are logged in to GitHub and they have organization access. It isn't very convenient, but that is an option we can do. The other option is if you want the files to just be accessible to anyone without having to be in the organization, the whole repo has to be public. So it's
Okay, makes
Yeah.
sense.
it's like that basically.